Okay, so Judges 9, part 2, verses 22 to 57. You can see we're still kind of in between Gideon and Jephthah, epic name Jephthah. So this period of time when there's no real appointed judge, no one who's like specifically put there to do like an incredible thing by God. Scott's going to touch on next week. There's a lot of people who do take like the reins, but not appointed as an official judge in this situation, as I've kind of noted here. So we're going to go through the rest of chapter 9 today, 22:57. I've got my 3 sections and my 3 final thoughts, so we're going to dive right in. Okay, so first section, section 1, verses 22 to 33, the bad spirit between Abimelech and Shechem. Okay, so it says this: when Abimelech had reigned 3 years over Israel, then God sent an evil spirit between Abimelech and the men of Shechem. And the men of Shechem dealt treacherously with Abimelech, that the cruelty done to the 70 sons of Jerubbaal might come, and their blood be laid upon Abimelech their brother, which slew them, and upon the men of Shechem, which aided him in the killing of his brethren. And the men of Shechem set liers in wait for him in the top of the mountains, and they robbed all that came along the way by them, and it was told Abimelech. And Gaal, the son of Ebed, came with his brethren, went over to Shechem, and the men of Shechem put their confidence in him. And they went out into the fields, and gathered their vineyards, and trode the grapes, and made merry, and went into the house of their God, and did eat and drink, and curse Abimelech. And Gaal, the son of Ebed, said, Who is Abimelech, and who is Shechem, that we should serve him? Is not he the son of Jerubbaal? And Zebul, his officer, served the men of Hamor, the son of Shechem, for why should we serve him? And would to God this people were under my hand, then I would remove Abimelech. And he said to Abimelech, Increase thine army, and come out. And when Zebul, the ruler of the city, heard the words of Gaal, the son of Ebed, his anger was kindled. And he sent messengers unto Abimelech's privily, saying, Behold, Gaal the son of Ebed and his brethren be come to Shechem, and behold, they fortify the city against thee. Now therefore, up by night, thou and the people that is with thee, and lie in wait in the field. Verse 33, And it shall be that in the morning, as soon as the sun is up, thou shalt rise early, and set upon the city. And behold, when he and the people that is with him come out against thee, thou mayest thou do to them as thou shalt find occasion. Okay. We heard from Jotham. Can anyone remember what Jotham said about Abimelech last week? What's going to happen here? People are going to die, but there was a certain time period. How long was it going to take for it to happen? Anyone remember?
Some number involving 7.
Fantastic. No. We're looking at verse 22. Abimelech had been reigning for 3 years. For 3 years. Jotham told them this warning was going to happen, and it was going to come true in a certain amount of years' time. Now, but we're fast forwarding 3 years here. And we're at this point now, this is going to come true, okay? There's a spirit of ill will between Abimelech and Shechem. We see the rise of Abimelech last week, the murder of the 68 other brothers, Jotham, who told this parable and ran away. So you got Jotham, who's safe. Abimelech, who's the murderer. 68 dead brothers. Abimelech takes the throne. Abimelech takes over. Jotham gets away safely. And now we're here where he's in charge and he's reigning now, and that's the situation. So verse 22, it tells us that Abimelech reigned over Israel for 3 years. And we can tell by the way that he acted before that he probably wasn't the most kind ruler. He murdered 68 of his brothers, right? Probably wasn't the most just. So would he be more of a tyrant? Would he be more of a king? This is really important, how you get the throne, how you get the position, how you get the status, how you take it, right, sets you up for how you're going to act. You get given a job, you don't really take it that seriously. You have to earn that job, you take it a little bit seriously, right? If you get given something like the throne, or you have to go and kill people with the throne, it doesn't automatically mean by the time that you're on the throne that you're going to be this kind, loving person. No. Patterns would say, that you would follow the same way that you're doing it right now. You killed to get the throne, you'll probably kill after you have the throne. That's kind of what we see. Abimelech, throughout the rest of this chapter, goes on this kind of rampage of killing a lot of people. So, We get to this point, they've been in charge. Now verse 23, God sent a spirit of ill will between Abimelech and the men of Shechem. Okay, a spirit of ill will. Everything seemed fine between the men of Shechem and Abimelech 3 years ago. Remember, they gave him the support. They all backed him. Then in judgment, God removed the peace that was between them and then sent this spirit of ill will. Kind of, remember what we said before? Like, they disrupted, disrupted them in battle, disrupted them in their place, disrupted them, made them a little bit like, feel a little awkward. So they couldn't be in that same place of peace before. It's kind of this is what happened again, okay? At verse 24, we can read about the cruelty done to the 70 sons of Jerubbaal might come and their blood be laid upon Abimelech, their brother, which slew them, and upon the men of Shechem, which aided. So notice here, it's not just on Abimelech. Abimelech did the killing, Abimelech did the orders, but he's saying, actually, you helped them. Men of Shechem, you stood by and allowed this to happen. You guys see that on online nowadays. We see YouTube videos or the news reporting on it, and it's like a man assaulted in the streets. And yeah, there's the guy punching the guy, and you're like, oh, bad guy, victim, easy to work out. And then you scoot back a little bit and see the bigger picture, and you have all these people with their phones out, just filming it. And you go, all of you guys aren't helping, which means what? That you're allowing it to happen. You didn't stop. So pick your side. Either be for or against. Be on the good side or the bad side, right? But there's repercussions. There's consequences of what's going to happen here. And the men of Shechem go against Abimelech. They turn their back on him. They get a little bit frustrated with him. They have this bad spirit between them now, okay? Verse 25, they send people to lie in ambush. Set men in ambush to rob all who passed by. So why? Why would this be a big deal? Will you guys go to Portland? Anyone here like Portland? Rachel, why won't you go to Portland?
It's scary.
It's scary! Why? Because there's not really any police. Because it's kind of people can do whatever they want to do. What about Seattle? Let's go Washington State. Who wants to go to Seattle? Not you, right? Who here wants to go downtown Spokane? Not really, it's like, there are reasons why. It's because those places aren't the safest. Why? Because
Liberals.
People have challenged, liberals, but people have challenged the rule, the authority, and haven't been reprimanded for that. You have these men of Shechem setting ambushes on mountain roads, on these paths, where traders will come along, where travelers will come along, and they rob them. What message is that sending? Your cities are not going to get any outside money. No outside money is going to come through. I'm going to take it all. What's the second message it's sending? You can't protect the people coming to your land. So really, it's robbing Abimelech of a couple of things here. Financial, but also like the status. Your land isn't safe. You're not safe if you go and travel to this place, right? So, it affects everyone, but it's this message that he cannot defend his land, he cannot guarantee the safety of those traveling in his kingdom. And in verses 26 to 29, we have this opportunity that this new person arrives on the scene, this new leader, and the men of Shechem choose him. And just like they put confidence back in Abimelech in the first half of this chapter, now they're putting their confidence in Gaal. So the men of Shechem put their confidence in Gaal, the son of Ebed. They lost their confidence in Abimelech. Now they've got a new leader, Gaal. So we have this new guy, and him and his brothers, his men, his people, came up and they just went to Shechem. Do you think it was because these guys were bored of Abimelech? Do you think it was because he showed up in force? Do you think it was because, Abimelech's been here for 3 years now, we're a little bit nervous about what's going to happen? This new guy looks good. What do you guys think? Joshua, Faraz, what do you think? What you got?
I don't know.
You don't know?
Yeah, it's kind of confusing.
Right.
Yeah.
They flip-flop, right?
People get desperate.
Yeah. You're not happy with the situation, you put your faith in someone else real fast, right? When your leader isn't leading the right way, people flip-flop. Remember what we said about who Abimelech had surrounded himself with? Yes men. Now suddenly those yes men are no men. And it's kind of what I told you. They don't stick around for the whole thing. As soon as things starts going backwards, they jump out and they choose someone else to follow. It was really cool to be able to follow in your footsteps, to cling onto your coat rags right there and be dragged through. But now I'm bored of this, and I'm going to choose someone else. That's kind of what happened here, right? And verse 27, you can see how confident and how comfortable they are. They go out to their fields. They gather their wine. They tread the grapes to make the wine, right? And they get merry. What does that mean?
Drunk.
They get drunk. But where do they get drunk? After that, they went into the house of their God. Their temple, their worship place. Remember, in the first half of this, we said Abimelech asked to be he was funded by the money in the temple. And now they're going into the temple drunk and merry and cursing Abimelech. Who is this guy? Who is this guy? I can't believe we'd let him lead us. Who is this guy? They were so confident that their new leader, Gal, would protect them against Abimelech, that they started throwing drunken parties and openly cursing Abimelech and challenging him to a fight. You know what you should do? Get all your guys and we'll just fist fight it out right here. Come on. You get your guys and we'll get your guys and we'll just see what happens. Come on. Who even is Abimelech? Curse that guy. Curse that guy. The men of Shechem put their confidence in the new leader. They went to the temple of the god and cursed out then old leader, and they wanted to party. They went to the vineyards, gathered the grapes, did the task of making wine, and then drank, turning their temple of a god as a place of drunkards and ridicule instead of a place of worship. It's kind of funny when that happens, right? Remember when we talked about what happened when people tried to steal the Ark of the Covenant and they'd try and open it up or do something to it? They would die. The judgment of God would fall upon them. If you went into the holies of holies and you weren't clean, you would die because the judgment of God would fall upon you. And now they have gone and taken money from the temple. They didn't die. Okay, why is that? Because your God's not real. And now you're comfortable going into your church or your temple, your worship hall, and getting absolutely plastered drunk and having parties and then shouting and cursing people's names. If we had that at church here, what would you say? If someone wandered in and was like, oh, great, and they just absolutely drunk out their minds, it'd be a bit weird, right? But they're making it so it's something they can do. And there's no judgment because, again, their God is not real. There's no consequence to this. It's like they kind of knew they could get away with it or something, right? So, verse 28, we read about this from Gal, the son of Ebed, where he said, who is this guy? Who's this Abimelech guy? Who even is he? Who even is he? You know who he is. He's been in charge for the last 3 years. He murdered 68 of his brothers to take the throne. You know who he is. But it's kind of like, I don't know, I don't care. I could take him. Don't even worry about it. We could fight and I'd win. He's kind of just saying that like, man, who's this guy? And it's funny. Who is this land? Why are we serving them? What makes him so special? All of these questions. Why are we doing what we're doing? Why aren't we challenging these things? Don't you get that sometimes? You get that one person who starts sparking a little bit of a challenge, a little bit of a moment of like, let's stand up against the teacher. We don't want to do homework anymore, so we're going to stand on our desks and say no more homework. And it usually starts with one little rumbling and it spreads, right? But that's what's happening here. Who even is this guy? In verse 29 it says, go and get a big army and fight me, basically. Get your army, increase thine army and come out. Don't be hiding. Get out here and fight me. There was a challenge to the kingdom, to the leader, and then to the people underneath him. Let's rise up and fight. Get your army and see who's the best to lead this place. Come on, fight me. Fight me. Verse 33, we can see and read about the role of Zebul, the ruler of the city. Now, he's not the king. He's kind of like a city manager. Governor type of thing, one underneath of him, like, who would report back to him. Like Herod was when he was in charge. Was he like the ruler of all of Rome? No. But he was like the governor of the area who reported back to Caesar. Make sense? Cool. Cool. What's that?
So the line in verse 29 where it's saying if the people are under my authority, that stuff, is that Gaul saying that, or is that still the drunk people in the temple saying that?
So verse 28 said, and Gal the son of Ebed said, and I think that continues through.
Okay.
So I think that's Gal saying that.
Okay.
But I don't know, this is a confusing thing and a bit of a wormhole for you. Verse 29, is that God capitalized?
No.
No? Is yours? Anyone else is G capitalizing that God?
Which verse?
Verse 29.
Mine is.
Yeah? And if you rewind back to verse 27, in the house of their God, is that capitalized or small? Lowercase. So who are we talking about here?
Oh, that one's lowercase, yeah.
Yeah, so you have one lowercase and you will have one
Uppercase.
One uppercase. So which God are we talking about? One is the false God and one is the true God. So really he's saying, God's saying, and would to God this people were under my hand. If God gave me these people to be under me, right, I would remove Abimelech. So did God send Gaal to do this? What do you think? To challenge this guy who just took control. With that understanding of what he's saying there about God, do you think God sent him? Joker.
I think definitely because God has a plan with everything, but I don't think he knows God because by the way he's acting doesn't really show he has a relationship with God, you
No,
know?
Gaul hasn't done anything yet. It's just the people doing.
Okay, but if God's saying this, and if God sent me and gave me the people under my hand, I'll get rid of Abimelech.
Yeah.
So do you think God sent Gaal to do this?
Yeah, I think so.
I like yours, most definitely. Good. It's an interesting thing though, little wormholes, right? When you look at it and you go like, hold on a second. We could dive real deep into this. Which temple are they in? We know that they're in the temple of Baal-Berith. God of the covenant. That's what they called him, right? Slap in the face of the one true God. And then Gaal here is saying, actually, if God, true God, one true God, right, sent me to clean all this place up and get rid of Abimelech, cool.
It's interesting to see that he knows who's actually in charge.
Yeah.
And yet.
Yeah, and yet it's handled very poorly. But don't you see that as well? Sometimes people claim to be Christian. Some people claim to know the truth. Doesn't mean they're going to live it. Doesn't mean they're going to live it, right? So, Zebul, the city manager, on behalf of Abimelech, in verse 30, told Abimelech all about God, all about what was going on, this rebellion that's building up, and Zebul advised Abimelech to come and attack the city that they're in. Come and attack it. They're trying to fortify it. They're trying to get it all ready, and Abimelech went for it. Okay, he stood up for it and went for it. Okay, verse 31. Zebul sent messages in private to Abimelech. Why in private? If he's the city manager, why does he have to be doing things in private? Because there's a rebellion going on. Okay, anyone who's recognized to be working for the other side will probably get imprisoned or killed or something. If you're trying to take over a place, that's what's going on here. But he gave a report on the state of the city. They're fortifying it. They're getting ready for an attack. But Gaal and his people have come to Shechem to go against you. Be ready. So verse 32, it says, get moving. Go up in the night. Here's the tactics. Here's the plan. Here's the strategy. Get up here and surprise them. Take them by surprise. Lie in wait and get ready to pounce. The word for night here in Hebrew means midnight. The dead of night, the darkest part, so no one sees you coming. Okay? It really makes the point of moving around in secret so no one can see you. And I think that's really interesting because what would happen in the Old Testament, even in the Bible times, people didn't really travel by night. It was kind of a shameful thing to be wandering around at nighttime. Once the sun came down, you go inside. Because only people who are doing bad things go out at night. Nothing good after 10 o'clock, yeah. But it's that thing of you're wandering around at nighttime. Why were you doing that? You being promiscuous? You doing something wrong? What's going on here? And then it says in verse 33, rise up early and rush this city. Get up and attack. And it shall be that in the morning, as soon as the sun is up, thou shalt rise early and set upon the city. And behold, when he and the people that is with him come out against thee, thou mayest do to them as thou shalt find occasion. Do whatever you want to do to them. You want to save them, save them. You want to kill them, kill them. However you find them, deal with them. It's up to you. This is a typical tactic, right? You sneak up before everyone's ready. Everyone's sitting down and having their porridge oats. They ain't got a sword in their hand, they got a spoon. Attack! Before everyone's ready to go, you know? Abimelech could have attacked at night time. Could have. Everyone's sleeping, that would have been a good thing as well. But he sticks to what the plan is here, right? At least he's kind of listening, which is good. We get to section 2, which is the defeat of Shechem. Verse 34 through 49 says this, and Abimelech rose up and all the people that were with him by night, and they laid wait against Shechem in the 4 companies. And Gaal the son of Ebed went out and stood in the entering of the gate of the city. And Abimelech rose up and the people that were with him from lying in wait. And when Gaal saw the people, and he said to Zebul, behold, there come people down from the top of the mountains. And Zebul said unto him, thou seest the shadow of the mountains as if they were men. Kind of funny. And Gaal spoke again and said, see, there come people down the middle of the land, and another company come along the plain of Meonim. Then said Zebul unto him, where is now thy mouth? Wherewith thou saidst, who is Abimelech, that we should serve him? Is not this the people that thou hast despised? Go out, I pray now, and fight with them. And Gaal went out before the men of Shechem, and fought with Abimelech. And Abimelech chased him, and he fled before him, and many were overthrown, and even wounded even into the entering of the gate. And Abimelech dwelt at Arumah, and Zebul thrust out Gaal and his brethren, that they should not dwell in Shechem. And it came to pass on the morrow that the people went out in the field, and they told him Abimelech. And he took the people, and divided them into 3 companies, laid wait in the field. Looked, and behold, the people were coming forth out of the city, and he rose up against them and smote them. And Abimelech and the company that was with him rushed forward and stood in the entering of the gate of the city, and the 2 other companies ran upon all the people that were in the fields, and slew them. And Abimelech fought against the city all that day. And he took the city and slew the people that was therein, and beat down the city and sowed it with salt. And when all the men of the tower of Shechem heard that, they entered into a hold of the house of the god Berith. And it was told Abimelech that all the men of the tower of Shechem were gathered together. And Abimelech gat him up to Mount Zalmon, he and all the people that were with him. And Abimelech took an axe in his hand, cut down a bough from the trees, took it and laid it on his shoulder, and said unto the people that were with him, what ye have seen me do, make haste and do as I have done. And all the people likewise cut down every man his bough, and followed Abimelech, and put them to the hold, and set the hold on fire upon them, so that all the men of the tower of Shechem died also, about 1,000 men and women. Whew, Abimelech! He just kind of goes all out, right? Verses 34 to 41, we basically see Abimelech defeating the rebellion of the men of Shechem, which was organized by Gaal. Verse 34, Abimelech and all the people that were with him rose by night and lay in wait. Abimelech agreed with the plan, stuck with the plan, and went for it. They broke into 4 different groups, probably to attack in different areas, different companies, right? You'd have a group here, group here, group here, and that's kind of what it looked like. But this is the funny part. I like this. Gaal stands up. Kind of shows you like Gaal's a little bit epic. You know, you can see it as a movie. There's people attacking the city, and he's just like, takes his sword out, wanders into the gate, and is like, bring it. He walks out to the entering of the gate. What was the gate so important for? Anyone remember?
It's the only opening in the wall, presumably.
Presumably the only opening. What else, once you passed that threshold, what was it meant to mean?
You're in the city.
You're in a city, which means safety. If you get into that gate, you should be safe. Remember when we read through, was it Esther? Book of Esther, we talked about the politics. Politicians all hung around in the gate because they'd welcome people in and try and charm them, and get them, vote for me, oh, here's my little leaflet, look at all the benefits, vote for me. And that's what they'd do. The gate was meant to be more of a community thing and a safety thing. You get through the gates, you should be safe. So you have these people, and he stands up and he comes to the gate, and Gaal comes and looks, and he sees, wow, there's a lot of people coming here. There's a lot of people. Look, verse 36, it says, there are people coming down from the tops of the mountains. Then I can see them. And Zebul answered, you're seeing shadows, man. Don't even worry about it. It's just shadows. They're not people. It's the shadows of the mountain. You know, the mountains move and run closer to cities. No. But Zebul tried to deceive Gaal, which allowed Abimelech's troops to get position, right? To get back down to where they need to be. And with the advantage here, Abimelech and the soldiers drove out Gaal and his men. You're seeing things, buddy. Don't even worry about it. Don't even worry about it. No, I'm seeing them come down the mountain. I'm seeing them come to the plain of it. I'm seeing people. Like, what's going on here? He said there were shadows. I'm seeing people. In this verse 38, we see Zebul has a little bit of gusto about him. Where's your mouth now? I heard you cursing. I heard you shouting out this guy's name. I heard you riling up people for a rebellion. Where's it now? Where's that strength now? Where's that fire now in your belly? They're all there. They're all waiting, right? And Zebul knew that Gaal was at a disadvantage. He could not resist rebuking him in this way of his proud, arrogant words when he was cursing Abimelech, an enemy he really couldn't defeat now. And Gaal was probably not ready for a fight, not for a siege. So he left the walls and moved to confront Abimelech out in the open instead. Okay? It's not, is this not the people you hate? Is this not the guy you mocked openly? Go and fight them. See what happens. That's what he says. Who is Abimelech that you should serve him? Is this not the people that thou hast despised? Go out, I pray now, and fight with them. Kind of funny. Zebul was just firing up a little bit like, go on, big boy, go fight him then. You called for this, come on, get out there. And Abimelech chased him down, verse 40, chased him down, and Gaal fled. Right? Abimelech chased him down, and he fled before him, and many were overthrown and wounded, even unto the entering of the gates. The reason why the gate there is mentioned again is because what? The gate is meant to be safety. You are not meant to be wounded as you approach the gate. It's meant to be a place of comfort, of security, of you get there, the guards will take care of you. You get there, you're okay. You're okay. Remember even in Joshua when we talked about the Avenger of Blood. He could not touch you, even if he saw you on the opposite side of the gates of like, you're the one that killed the guy and I've come to avenge. If you were on the other side of the gates, he was not allowed to come in and cause you harm. He wasn't even allowed to come in and pull you out. He was not allowed to enter through that threshold. It was such a security thing. But here it is. Abimelech chased him all the way through the gate. And people are getting hurt whilst going through it. It's a shock. It's, wow, this isn't meant to happen. Okay? So Abimelech chased him down. Gaal fled. All talk and little action, really. Okay? Many were overthrown, wounded as they entered in the place of safety. Verse 41, we can read Abimelech dwelt at Arumah, and Zebul threw out the rest of the people there, the brothers of Gaal. They no longer stayed in Shechem. They were kicked out. They were chased out. Verse 42 to 45, Abimelech attacks the citizens of Shechem and conquers the city. This is the part that makes no sense to me. Because actually he's taking control again. He could have slowly chose to take his time to convince people to come back to his support, but instead, he just wipes them all out. He was done. You know what, you guys turned your back on me once? Gone. Pretty aggressive, right? But actually, in Roman times, this is what they would typically do. They had three choices. Roman times, when they came over and take over a city or a town or a village or something like that, they would assess, do we take over the place and keep it the way it is? Do we take over the place and take every single person as slaves? Do we take over this place and burn it to the ground? That was typically the three options they would go for. So he's not really doing anything out of place. He just assessed it of I'm going to burn this place to the ground. I'm going to kill everyone. So we can read the next day. It came about, verse 42, it came about on the next day. People are comfortable. People are way too comfortable back in those days. There was a war. There was a siege. You had one guy in charge who took over from Abimelech, and now he's gone because Abimelech chased him back through. How are you feeling this secure? There's a lot of change going on here, right? They said it came to pass on the morrow that the people went out into the field, and they told Abimelech. The resistance of Gaal defeated. Abimelech would find it easy to establish his control over the city of Shechem again, right? Both outside and inside the city, they effectively attacked and killed the people of Shechem, even those who weren't directly involved. He wiped them out. Weird thing to happen here is that the people of the city felt so comfortable about what happened and that the siege was all settled that they went back to their ways. Oh, better go back to the harvest. Ah, saw a cow ran away during a battle, better go and find him. It was cool, let's just go do it. And this report was given to Abimelech.
Mondays, am I right?
Mondays, yeah. But verse 33, we can say he took, again, dividing his people into different companies, taking that strategy again, and waited in the field. And as the people approached, they rose up and they killed them all. He killed them all. He rose up against them and smote them. Verse 44, Abimelech's company ran for the gates to take the city, and other companies killed all the workers and all the people in the field. That tells me there was a lot of people in the field. That tells me it wasn't just a couple of handfuls of people who were like, oh, let's get back to it. That tells me that 2 companies, there's a lot of people. There really is. And I find that funny again, they secured the gate. He secured that gate. I'm in charge now. Why are you in charge? I got the only way in and out. I'm in charge now. I'm the guy. Verse 45, it tells us about he fought the city all day, and he took the city and slew the people that was in there, beat down the city, and sowed it with salt. Abimelech then turned his anger, his fury, against the people of Shechem. You went against me, you're gone. You went against me, now you're dead. Killed as many of them as he could, demolished their city. And Shechem actually wasn't rebuilt until the reign of Jeroboam the first, 2 centuries later. You can read about that in 1 Kings 12:25. But it's interesting because Shechem is something that keeps getting talked about, okay? But notice this. Those who helped get the violent man in power then had to deal with the consequences of that violent man coming to get back power again. Right? Notice that is the same thing here. He was violent when he took it. He killed his brothers. And now he's killing everyone who turned their back on him. Violence, violence. It's a pattern here. Don't trust the person. Okay? Verses 46 to 49, we see the massacre at the Tower of Shechem. Okay, people of the Tower of Shechem. Clearly there's a big tower in Shechem. We've heard about it a couple of times now, okay? And they all heard that what was going on, so they entered into the house of the god Berith, Baal Berith, right? The god of the covenant. He was typically worshipped for fertility and for good crops. And they entered into this house probably for prayer or worship to make their god known of what's going on. But again, false god, so it's all a waste of breath. Verse 47, Abimelech was given this report of where all the people were. They're in the tower. That tower? Yeah, cool. Let's go get them. They're sitting ducks. They're sitting ducks right now. And Abimelech in verse 48 takes his axe, goes and cuts off limbs of trees, and basically tells everyone, go and do the same thing. And Abimelech was an ungodly and violent man. He did understand some basic principles of leadership here, right? He understood the importance of leading through the example of his actions. He could tell his troops, do as I have done, so they did, right? Doesn't mean he's a bad leader, it just means he's a bad dude, right? In verse 49, they cut down the trees. They bundled them at the tower, right at the door, set fire to them. All the 1,000 men and women perished, right? All the people of the Tower of Shechem died, about 1,000 men and women. Abimelech massacred the last survivors of the city of Shechem. Usually that tower, that stronghold, would be looked at as a place of security again, okay? But this was basically the warning of Jotham earlier in the chapter, right? Judges 9:19 through 20. And it's tough because people of Shechem, think about this, we call God our strong tower sometimes, right? Psalm 61:3, for you have been a shelter for me, a strong tower from the enemy. Proverbs 18:10 as well. The name of the Lord is a strong tower, the righteous run to it and are saved. Right? There are key things when we think about tower, of safety, of security, of strength. But here it is. The Tower of Shechem is burnt down and it's destroyed. And everyone who thought that they were safe, killed. Section 3, final section, verse 50 through 57. Then went Abimelech to Thebez and encamped against Thebez and took it. But there was a strong tower within the city, and thither fled all the men and women, and all they of the city, and shut it to them, and gat them up to the top of the tower. And Abimelech came unto the tower and fought against it, and went hard to the door of the tower to burn it with fire. And a certain woman cast a piece of millstone upon Abimelech's head, and all to break his skull. And then he called hastily unto the young man who is armor bearer, and said unto him, draw thy sword and slay me, that men say not of me, a woman slew him. And his young man thrust him through, and he died. Then when the men of Israel saw that Abimelech was dead, they departed every man unto his place. Thus God rendered the wickedness of Abimelech, which he did unto his father, and slaying his 70 brethren. And all the evil of the men of Shechem did God render upon their heads, and upon them came the curse of Jotham, the son of Jerubbaal, or Gideon. So, verses 50 to 55, we kind of read about God's judgment on Abimelech. Okay? Verse 50, Abimelech arrives at a new place. Oh, look at that. I'm going to take it. So he encamped against it, he sieged it, besieged it, and then took it. Abimelech seemed to kind of go from place to place here, just taking over. What does that tell you about his characteristics? The characteristics of Abimelech, an angry, violent man who just wants to be in charge. I want this and I'll take it. I want that and I'll take it. I want it, and it's mine. That's kind of what we got now in Abimelech. But verse 51, there's a tower. Again, another tower. The people ran to it, and they locked the doors, and like, ha! Strong tower, baby! Woo! We're fine. Trees were cut down again. Hey, this worked last time, let's do it again, right? Smashing up against the door, let's burn it down. Wood was piled up, set on fire, and Abimelech came as far as the tower and fought against it. Just like that brutal victory at the Tower of Shechem, Abimelech was probably thinking, now, I know how to do this. Towers aren't any different. We're going to burn it. Everyone's going to die. We'll be victorious. And he went to Thebez and attacked the city and the tower there as well. Verse 53, though, a certain woman dropped an upper millstone on Abimelech's head and crushed the skull. The woman dropped a millstone and mortally wounded him, right? Tried to break his skull. Take some of that. This is like a stone they'd use to grind grain by like hand. Okay, like an upper millstone. So these handstones average from about 10 to 14 inches long and weighed about 5 to 15 pounds. So it's kind of like a good size wood stone pole thing. So you're not talking about a boulder, we're not talking about a rock, we're talking about something that has been shaped, and she's able to just huck it down, wha-bang, and it fractures his skull. Verse 54, where you read that Abimelech is so concerned about his reputation of being killed by a woman. He's like, oh man, you, armor bearer, kill me so that you'll be the one to kill me, not a woman. Why?
Sexism.
Sexism? Proves that women can throw rocks really well. Yeah. But also, it's kind of, what's up?
It's shameful.
Shameful, right? Yeah, why?
Because a woman killed a tyrant, so...
A king,
yeah.
You know? Abimelech, I kind of put this like, Abimelech considered it manlier to be killed by an armor bearer instead of by a woman throwing a rock. But he was still dead. He still died. He was thinking about his reputation, his family line, how people would see him. But even then, when he died, he was proud. He's a prideful man. He then would have to go and answer to God for his wicked actions. So think about that. It doesn't change the way where he went to or what happened afterwards. 2 Samuel 11:21 tells us who smote Abimelech, the son of Jerubbaal. Oh, it was his armor, but no, it doesn't say that. It says, did not a woman cast a piece of the millstone upon him from the wall? So basically, it's like, even with his attempts to kind of stop the shame and stop all this stuff that's going to happen, it still gets written that he got killed by a woman. And I love that, because it's like he tried his best to make it look more manly and less shameful, and instead people still remember, hey, he kind of took a coward's way out here and he couldn't just take the death. It's funny. Long after the death of Abimelech, the credit continued to be given to the woman, not the armor bearer. Commentators basically kind of observe this as the hand of God, the just hand of God coming in here. That one stone he slain 70 of his brothers, right? He killed 68 of his brothers, and now a stone through by a woman slays him. This idea, this one phrase I liked, his head had stolen the crown of Israel, and now his head is smitten. That was kind of a fun one. I was like, I want to steal that for a second. So, verse 55. When the men of Israel saw the defeat, the death of Abimelech, they departed. They ran. Their leader was gone. All right, siege over. Let's get out of here. Final two verses is kind of like a summation, the certainty of God's judgments on all that's happened, okay? Verse 56, thus God repaid the wickedness of Abimelech. He said it was going to happen. Jotham said it was going to happen. Who's surprised that it happened? Come on, guys. Right? When God says something, we should be aware that God is consistently consistent. That he doesn't tell us a lie. That he doesn't lead us astray. If he says that something's going to happen, you should know it's going to happen. So when he said, I'm going to repay the wickedness of Abimelech, we can read that with all the wickedness to his father, of all that Gideon had done, all been thrown down the drain, right? All the wickedness to his brothers as he had murdered every single one of them. That sin, that shame, that guilt, all those things. The Bible tells us all things are noticed. They are not easily hidden from God, right? All of it. Verse 57 there, on them came the curse of Jotham, the son of Jerubbaal. God had warned the men of Shechem through Jotham. Gave him that parable, all the trees, all the different imagery there. Yet they rejected the warning of God, and therefore came to ruin. We should each consider if God is warning us about something right now, okay? The story of Abimelech, this account of the men of Shechem and Jotham shows us that there is a real and terrible price to pay for rejecting God's warnings. That we shouldn't be taking these things lightly. That actually when God presents us with something, we should take it as truth, as sincere, right? As we said last week. What God tells us is the truth. So, 3 final thoughts for you, and this is the end of Judges chapter 9. Verse 4, God is always in control. Okay, Joshua already said when I asked about Gaal being sent by God, definitely. But maybe Gaal didn't know who God was. Well, and that's the funny part to think about. When Abimelech took control, was God in control? Yeah. When he murdered his brothers, when they were waiting for the workers of Shechem to come out to the fields, when they burnt down the towers, when the woman threw the stone, God was and is in control. Okay? All the craziness that happens, all the upset, all the uproar, all the changes, all the politics, everything like that. Whenever we're going through stuff, we need to remember that God is in control. That God has a purpose for things. Last week I said, who do you surround yourselves with? And I said, maybe sometimes God puts people in our lives so that we know we don't need to have those people in our lives. Right? Just like this, Gaal got sent in here, I believe, to be the challenge to show the true heart of Abimelech. To show people exactly who he was, but then to make come true the prophecy or the parable of Jotham. That burning down of the cedars of Lebanon, right? That crushing of the people groups. That bramble bush accepting that king position, but still being thorny and aggressive and violent and seeking blood. Do you believe that God's in control? If you don't, you're going to talk about something there, right? You're going to talk about why not. Second one, 1 Timothy 5:12. 25. Likewise, also the good works of some are mindset beforehand, but they that are otherwise cannot be hid. Saying here, all those good things shouldn't be hidden. They cannot be hid. They'll be seen by God. But what about all those other things? All those shameful things? All those sinful things? All those bad things? Nothing stays hidden. Nothing. You should not be surprised that God knows what's going on. We should not be surprised when we go, oh man, I did my best to keep it a secret from everyone. How did they find out? Because God knows everything. God sees everything. God sees when we're doing those private sins, those public sins, all those, and even those thoughts. It's all known by God. When Abimelech did the things that he did, he knew what he was doing, and he did it to slap God in the face. At the same place where Joshua wrote the law, right? Remember, that's when he got his coronation as king. When he went into certain places and did certain things, it was because he was trying to slap people in the face. Those are very public sins. But there's this also the start of Judges chapter 9, when Abimelech decided, I'm going to kill my brothers. That probably started as a thought, a sinful thought, that was then acted upon. God sees, hears, understands the thoughts and why we're doing things. Don't be surprised. He knows what's going on. Be honest. Be honest with him. And the third thing here, third one, are you turning away from the warnings of God? Read Judges chapter 9. Read the whole thing again if you want. See what happens when we do this. When we turn away from the warnings that Jotham gave about what's going to happen if you put Abimelech in charge. You know what's going to happen? Oh, it's going to be bad news, bears. Don't be doing it. We have many warnings. How to act, how to speak, who to invite into our lives, who to turn to in times of need. God has given you a great warning, a great instruction that has been tested time and time and time again, which is the Bible. Are you applying it to your life? Because that's the truth right here. God is just, He's kind, He's loving, He's merciful. He has given us free will, but so it's up to you to listen. It's up to me to listen, to take heed of the accounts that He's given to us. So read it, read the Bible. Go back home and read some of the stuff that we've already studied through. Do you agree with what we're saying or not? Why not? If it's something controversial, if it's something big, then challenge it. Don't just take my word. Don't just take Pastor Josh's word. Challenge. Dig deep. Apply the truth to your life and know that God is consistent and kind and loving and merciful. He wants you to know Him more. I think this is the key part about all of this. Are you turning away from the warnings of God? Sometimes we do that because we don't want to give God control. God is always in control. You might not be acting on those sins, but have you got a sinful mind? Are you thinking sinful thoughts? You're thinking of your brother and your sister in a bad way? You're thinking of doing something bad? Understand that God is still in control. This all comes back to that. That whilst Abimelech is taking over and killing a lot of people, God is still in control. That whilst Gideon was bringing idolatry to the land of Israel again, God is still in control. That even tomorrow when you walk into your school and you choose to call someone a mean name or whatever, God is still in control. He sees it all. He knows it all. He is a just God. A loving and merciful one, but a just God. You don't want to have the consequences of that just God on you. That's why Jesus, right? That's why Jesus came and did what He did. Think about those things. That's Judges chapter 9.